I designed this particular unit, and it was for a client. He's also done the front one, and his I'd call it modus operandi is to buy either existing houses or bare land and put a standard house on the front and then a smaller dwelling on the back, and then subdivide it off and doubling his assets, so that if anything ever happened, he could sell them off individually. He doesn't have to be stuck with two. So we went for the 60 square metres in this particular design, because at that time we were talking about they were going to start easing off the regulations then, and now they've gone to 70 metres, and I'll talk a little bit about that later in the next slide. It is the SIP panel. You've already spoken to NZ SIP, so you know what that's all about. The walls are SIP, the roof is SIP, and the floor is timber frame. So it's just rafters and joists, and then we put the insulation in between. And UPVC windows, Martin, you've come across at some point. And we also put in the balanced ventilation system too, because when you've got a house that's as airtight as this, you need to be able to move the air around instead of moving out of windows. And the storage up in the back of here, it was actually designed to have the MVHR up in there, but we ran into an issue with the recession plane on the gable end for the neighbour, so I had to reduce the pitch of the roof, and therefore we lost a bit of space out of there, so we went to a second one that was in the wardrobe in there that you would have seen before. And yeah, the client, Kenton, he wants to provide a higher standard of rental. He believes that if he can do something that's good for the renter, then they'll pay a good price and they'll last longer and they'll be happier. And I think it's working for him. So, and I also talked to him about alternative income streams. There's investors that I know of that have solar panels on the roof as well, and they include electricity and internet in the rentals, and they've told me that at certain times of the year they'll make more money out of the electricity than they will out of the rental. So it's got to be good. So the upcoming planning changes that the government's trying to get everybody to do is the granny flat on the back section. It's up to 70 square metres. It has to be a simple shape. It can't be any more than 4 metres high. It can't be any more than a metre off the ground, which rules this one out, because this is at 1,200 off the ground. And but this is a flood zone, so that's why this is this particular scenario. The idea is that you will present to council your intention of what you're going to build, and I think they have to be fully resolved plans. I think they have to have elevations and cross sections and details for claddings and windows and all that sort of thing. And pretty much what they're going to do, as I suppose, is just give you a building consent exemption. It'll be relied on the professionals that you get, your LBPs. They'll sign all the work off, and it's pretty much everything can be done with an LBP, except if you want to put in a tiled shower. That hasn't got an LBP licence at the moment, so that, I suppose, will trigger a building consent. So you can do a reasonably good dwelling, and you can it's a nice space. I mean, this is 57 square metres. 70 square metres is pretty much this room added on the end, so it's quite a livable space, really. It has to comply with the building consent regulations, so it's all B1, B2, you name it. Some of the things they don't really push is if you're going to start getting into airtight houses is ventilation and moisture control, but you would hope that the designer and the builder and the team would be able to take care of all that. And one of the things that it does kind of worry me is that with these smaller houses and the granny flats, is the intended outcome what they propose? There's a lot of LifeMark design idea, specifications that should be put into houses for the elderly. If it's going to be a granny flat, it needs to be level entry access. There's no provision that says a ramp is necessary. There's no provision to say that you've got to have wider doors for wheelchairs. There's no provision for anything like that. So, we're just going to perpetuate what we've always done. And, I remember ACC giving us a lecture a few years ago, and they spend between $80 and $100 million a year changing houses to accommodate elderly that need to have care and people that are in wheelchairs. So again, we're just perpetuating the same old thing. But I would hope that whoever's involved with the design will think about that, think about the end user, and implement it.